with you.
Sorry.
So,
No, you have to say it again. I'm sorry.
okay. Yeah, so we are recording this, but we hope that doesn't in any way dampen anyone's enthusiasm to participate and to offer their sharing later on or have any questions or anything. So first of all, who are you, my dear?
I'm Mangalananda's wife. Thank you for having me.
Gloria.
Gloria.
And I want to introduce Pragya Hallstrom is our co-host, the author of Mother of Bliss, a beautiful book about Ma, and in charge of the Boston area Satsang for many, many years. So Pragya, can you say hello?
Yes, Jema, it's wonderful to see you all. Special welcome to all of you who joined us today from France for the first time. It's really beautiful that you're here. And I know it's late also there. So that's even more lovely that you decided to be with us. So welcome to you. I live in Amherst, Massachusetts.
Very good. Yes, just last a couple of weeks ago, at the invitation of one of our friends in France, I spoke to a group of about 90 people online, and he was translated in French as we go. But this is all going to be in English, and I'll try to speak slowly. People in France always say, speak slowly to me. Okay, so Renu, will you introduce yourself and kind of lead us through the introductions here?
Okay, Jema, welcome. I'm Renu from Fremont, California. Bienvenue to all the French people and bienvenidos of the Mexican people. And I don't know the rest of the languages, so welcome everyone. I'll call you guys using the participant list, and then you can just unmute yourselves and then say where you're from, and then we'll get on.
If you're not that familiar with Zoom, look on the bottom left of your screen. There's a little microphone icon, and you just click on that and it will unmute. Or you can even just, if you're on the laptop, just push down your space bar, but then be sure and remute yourself afterwards. Otherwise, we get all this feedback from different people, okay?
Okay, we'll start with Katya.
Jema, dear friends. Wonderful to be here with you. This is Katya from Madeira, Portugal. Jema.
Jema, always happy to see you.
Jema. Yes, very happy. Me too. Thank you.
Boa noite.
Boa noite. Good night.
Greg's next, since he's already piped in.
Oh, hi, I'm Greg in New Hampshire. Jema.
Jema, Greg, we were thinking about you. We haven't seen you for a couple of months, 2 or 3 months. We were saying, oh, I hope Greg comes back. Good to see you.
Thank you. I did. I came in late last time, but I was there.
Okay, we just missed your introductions. Good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you. Good to be here. Thank you.
Looks like Sati, Carole, Nathalie.
De Suisse. Enchantée.
Welcome.
No English.
Bienvenue.
Merci.
Bonsoir.
Nice you. Bonsoir.
Okay. Next, welcome. We have David Herring. David, you want to unmute?
Hey there, David.
Yeah. Hello. We are Linda and David in Williamsburg, and I've been looking at some of Ma's teachings about chakras, and maybe sometime we could do a little work with the chakras during one of these meetings in the future.
That's a good suggestion. We'll see. Good to see you
Yeah,
both.
it wasn't clear to me what it is.
Yeah, okay. And also,
Jema.
later in the sharings, if you have a specific question, we can talk about it. You know, just we can bring it up later when we have our sharing time.
Okay.
Jema.
Thank you.
Welcome,
You.
Linda. Jema. Next, we have Prajna-ji. Prajna Didi.
Jaima, it's so nice to be on this satsang. I've missed it the last few times.
Good to see you. I'm glad you grabbed Diego and made him sit there and listen.
Yes, I actually did. Thanks to Ma's grace, I was successful this time.
Good
Nice to see you guys.
Yeah, good to see both of you.
Love your energy, both of you. Namaste.
Yay, welcome Diego and Prerna. Next we have Hema Durga. Durga?
Gemma. Yes, I'm Durga. I'm living in France.
Welcome,
Ah,
Durga. Welcome.
bonjour.
Jema, bonjour.
Bonsoir.
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 Okay, welcome. Next we have Eddie Nagui.
Hello,
Hello.
I come from France. I don't know if I'm going to understand all because my English is not very well, but I'm happy to be here with you.
Very good. We're happy.
Thank you.
Jema, very welcome.
Bonsoir.
Thank you very much. Bonsoir. Bonsoir, happy.
Trezorus. Okay, next we have Georgie.
Namaskar, Jema, Acharya, Prajna. I think I'm going to do something for the French participants to the Satsang. I'm going to hack the chat box, if you're okay, Acharya, so I can translate some of the key points that you are sharing for the French participants who don't have the sufficient level of English. Okay,
That's
with you.
wonderful. I appreciate that, dear brother. Very good. And he's in charge of this, or in charge, I know he's the leader of this group in France. I'm really happy to have you here. Wonderful. Thank you for coming.
Jema.
Yeah, feel free to do that if you like. It's a really good idea.
I do.
You want to say in French real quick what you're going to do so they'll understand, because some of them are not following us.
Yes, je vais utiliser la boîte de dialogue pour traduire certains points d'Acharya en français. Donc, restez avec nous.
Very good.
Okay, merci.
That's so great. Thank you. Next we have Ganga Korhin.
Ganga, you there? You have to unmute yourself in the bottom left. Okay, well, let's move on. We have a lot of people. You're welcome, Ganga. You're welcome to be with us. We're happy you're here.
And Greg, we already did. Haimanti Bhattacharya.
Jaima, everyone. I'm Haimanti and I'm from Toronto, Canada.
Didi, will you turn on your video so we can see you?
Okay, I'm actually with my baby, so yeah, just give me a moment. Yeah, I can turn on my video. Jaima.
Happy to see you. I'm so glad you came. I've been inviting you for a couple of years now. Is this your first time with us?
No, I actually joined you a few times. It's back on 2020.
Okay.
Then I couldn't join you, but I was really waiting for, and I saw this today, the meeting link and all, and I think like, yes, I have to.
Oh, very happy. Aapka swagat hai. Tohe.
Jaima.
Nandarahi. Jai Ma.
Okay, Jaima, welcome. Next we have Haripriya Didi.
Haripriya from Germany, are you there?
Willkommen.
Yes, Jema. I'm Haripriya from South Germany, Mannheim, near Frankfurt Airport. And I want to say thank you that you recorded. Sometimes I'm too tired, so next morning I start the laptop and listen.
Okay, very good.
To wake up tomorrow at 6:30. Okay, thank you for recording.
Yeah, well, what's
But
nice.
today I'm fit, so I'm there.
Good. Yeah, I'm really happy that Rainer's recording this.
Yes.
Then people can come back and check in. Good to see you.
Jema.
Jema.
Guten Abend.
Yes, thank you. Jema.
Very welcome.
I'm a translator here.
Greg. Okay, next we have Helen Moon.
So happy to be here. Thank you all.
Salt Spring
From
Island.
Salt Spring Island, yes.
Yes, Jai Ma, one of my favorite places in the world.
Mine too.
Good place. Good to see you, Jai Ma.
Okay, Jema, welcome. Next we have Ian Island. Ian. How about Ian?
I'm Ian Allen, and I'm from Chatham, New York. And this is my friend Alex. I'm Alex. I'm also from Chatham, New York.
Welcome.
Jema.
Welcome. Very happy you're with us. Jema.
Jema, welcome. Next we have Janet Rubinson from Florida, I think.
Yeah, Jema, we're Janet
And David.
from Florida.
Yep.
Happy to be here.
Absolutely.
We're happy to see both your dear faces. Old friends.
David, welcome. Next we have Julia from Canada.
Can you unmute, Julie?
Maybe some technical difficulties there.
Okay, well, was that Shama from Canada?
Is that her name?
It's Shama. Yes, Shama, we can't hear you even when you're unmuted. But we see you and we feel you.
Yeah, anyway, when you know we love you and you're very welcome. Try to unmute later so we can talk in our sharing, because you always have beautiful
From
offerings.
Julia. She's in the chat. She chatted something.
Okay, let's move on.
Okay, moving on. Lynn Sharon or Lynn Sharon? I don't know.
Lynn Sharon, Jema from the UK.
Oh, welcome. Jema.
And I'm cold.
Must be freezing.
Oh,
I am.
okay. Welcome, Lynn. I forgot the last name already. The last part. Okay. Next we have Miriam A. Frederic from Guadeloupe.
Hello. Yes, Frederic. I'm happy to I'm here.
To be there with you in French West Indies. So happy.
Oh, beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. How nice. Beautiful. It's a new area.
Okay, welcome. Like a lot of French people. Pascal L from France is next.
Hello. Hello, Acharya. Hello, everybody. I'm very happy to be here with you. Not sure that my English is enough fluent, but I will try to understand. And thanks to Georgie for his translation. Thank you very much.
Yes, we're happy to see you. It's beautiful to see the faces of people who have been touched by Ma's grace. Every one of us have, and it's beautiful to see. Welcome.
Welcome. Next we have Patricia or Patricia. iPhone.
Hi, my name's Patricia. I'm in Mount Shasta, California, and Rafael invited me to join this call. She's here in the house with me.
Wonderful,
Oh,
wonderful.
welcome.
Well, welcome. Very good. And
Thank you.
All right, welcome. And next we have Rafael.
Yay.
Unmute. Oh, Jema, everyone.
Jema.
So good to be here as always. And I'm so happy that I'm in the gallery view. I see Patricia. She has I just said, well, I can't talk anymore. I've got to get on a call. And so I just was guided. That's Ma's blessing, just guided to mention it, which you don't always do when you're in a hurry. And she said, oh, I know who she is. And she shared a little briefly, she has a special connection with her. So I said, I'm sending you the link, and here she is.
Wonderful.
So happy.
That's the kind of thing at the end of our whole session, we're going to have a long period of sharing. And that's the kind of things we want to hear. People like to share, how they came to Ma, how this connection they have. We always love to hear that. But at the appropriate time later on. Okay, thank you. And welcome to both of you. Really happy to see you.
Welcome. Next we have Raja Narayanan in California, apparently.
Namaste. I'm from Orange County, California. Very happy to be here. Thank you very much, Prajna, for inviting me. I think after a while, I'm glad to be back. Jema.
Jema.
Namaste.
We're welcome to have you.
We're happy to have you.
Happy to have you. Okay. Staying correct.
Jayma, welcome. Next we have Randy Jordan.
Hi, everybody. I'm from Western Massachusetts, Great Barrington. So Ian, I would love to get your email since I think Chatham's only a half hour away. Chatham, New York, I think. So I'm really happy to be here with you all and been waiting for this all day.
Oh, wonderful. And I also love that many people who didn't know each other before have become friends now. You know, we have some people in Hawaii that became friends, and so this is really good. This is part of our desire for this interaction of Ma community. Very good. Welcome.
Welcome. Next we have, let's see. Uh-oh. This is the long participant list. Hold on one second. Sanjay.
This is Sanjay from Wichita, Kansas, and with me, Shivang and Trisha. Happy to be over here.
Very nice. Very nice. And nice to talk to you recently and share our emails and things. Welcome.
I'm so happy. Thank you.
Jayma, welcome to all three of you. And next we have Saraswati.
We'll be able to arrange this so we can meet in India in February too. We'll see what Ma does.
Namaskar.
Saraswati?
Oui. Okay. Namaskar. Je vis en France et je suis très heureuse d'être avec vous. Merci.
So she just said she's in France.
Yeah, Saraswati is living in France and she's very happy to be with us tonight.
Very good. Jayma, welcome.
Sorry, that was a little automatic thing there. And then Sylvain Ishuk.
Jayma, hey, I'm very grateful to be with you. I'm from France, near the place of Lourdes.
Ah, very good. I once spent 3 days in Lourdes. It was a very wonderful experience.
Yeah,
welcome.
That is beautiful of that. Thank you.
Welcome. Next we have Tara.
Hello, Jayma. Can you hear me?
Be sure to mute. If you're not speaking, be sure and push the mute button again. But is that Tara? We still want to say hello and welcome.
Hello, namaskar. I'm from France and I'm very happy to be with you today. It's my first satsang with you.
Very good. Jayma.
Hello, Jayma.
Jayma, welcome, Tara. Next we have.
Thank you.
Tillai, Tillai.
Namaskar. Jayma. We are from France. We are with a group of Georgie friends, and we are very happy to be here with you tonight.
Thank you, Jayma. We're happy to see you.
Jayma, welcome. Next we have Yamuna from France also.
Hello everybody. I live in France. I am so happy and grateful to be here. Thank you.
Welcome, Yamuna. We are happy also.
Jayma.
Jayma, welcome, Yamuna. Next we have Yana and Sarah. Aloha to y'all.
Aloha to y'all.
Aloha, bonsoir. It's Sarah and Yana in Hilo, Hawaii.
So good to see you both. I see another example of two people who became friends through Matthew Satsang, which is a wonderful thing.
Very grateful.
Beautiful. Good to see you both, really and truly.
And finally, we have Yetesh Chowdhury. Love that last name.
Must be a relative.
Hello, this is Yitesh. I live in San Francisco. I met Anandamayi end of October. I was very fortunate. I'm really grateful to be here as well. Thank you.
Jayma, good to see you, Pai. Yeah, we had a nice lunch at the Sri Chinmoy Cafe in San Francisco.
Beautiful. I think that's it. If I've missed anybody, please let me know.
Everybody reported and online. Good, good. Okay. So we like to start with this very great understanding that Ma is present with us. Ma hears our voices, hears our prayers. As she once said, know for certain that any prayer you offer to me here comes into my heart like the waves against the shore. So I want to read Ma's own words assuring us of this. So Ma says, I am ever with each one of you, wherever you happen to be, even in France, as far away as that is. But your vision is tied down to worldly matters, and you have little time to direct your eyes to this body and your thoughts and actions. What can I do? But know it for certain that whatever you do in thought and deed, whether you are near or in distant lands, never escapes my loving attention. Just as at a flash of torchlight, your faces gleam forth in their bold outlines, all your facial expressions appear in my mind when you meditate on me or talk about me or sit down to pray to me. So Ma, in her infinite consciousness, because who can say that but someone who has infinite consciousness, hears us and is very happy we're here together in her name. So I like to always start with a couple of selections from Ma's life, because then we see how she lived her life, how she related to people, and it just makes it more real. She breathed the same air as we did, walked on the same earth as we did. When I was living in India for many years, I was living in a place, in one of Ma's ashrams, in a place called Omkareshwar, in an ancient Shiva shrine in central India. And there was a room where Ma had come there in 1940. And the head of the ashram had me research and find the room where it was and make a little shrine there for us, saying Ma stayed in this room at such and such a date. So I was also teaching a class to the Indian children there in our school about Ma's life. So I brought the whole class there, and we sat down on the floor, and I touched the floor, and I said, Ma sat on this floor. Ma sat on this very floor. She touched these walls. And it just made it more real. You know, the Ma was really real. So let's think of some things from Ma's life. This is from a book called My Anandamayi Ma by Vishuddha Chakraborty. And Vishuddha grew up with Ma in the Kanyapit, that's the girls' school in the Varanasi ashram. And at the moment, she's very old. She's in her late and probably early 90s now, but she is in charge of Ma's Samadhi Pit, the shrine where Ma's body is enshrined in Kankal, which is south of Hardwar in North India. And she's she's in charge of that shrine now, and you see her there. I've met her many times there, and also in the Beampora ashram. She always says, "Oh, you're from Indore ashram." Yeah. So a very wonderful devotee of Ma, who grew up with Ma, and who literally, when her mother was pregnant with her, Ma came and visited her mother and blessed her when she was still in the womb. So someone who's very close to Ma. And this is very interesting. I wanted to read this little excerpt to show how deep all of our connection with Ma is. She was very strict with it. She would spend a lot of time at the Kanyapit in Varanasi and took a very personal hand in all of their upbringing. And the main thing she said the school was about, it was for learning. They always got rewards in Sanskrit learning and science and math and all these things. But she said the main thing about the school is development of character. So she took a personal hand in the development of all the girls' characters, and she was very loving but very strict with them. So this is an interesting excerpt. So Vishuddha says this. A few days later, we were studying in the hall when Ma came in with folded hands and said, "Friends," see, Ma always addressed married people as mother and father, and she addressed unmarried people and children as friends. She'd always call, she'd say friends, dos, many dos, mana dos. She would always address people as friends. Isn't that beautiful? So Ma came into the hall and said, "Friends, tomorrow you girls will have a feast on behalf of this body." Knowing this, we were highly delighted. The next day, Ma invited us into the dining hall. She herself arranged the seats for us. Ma's seat laid opposite mine. After we took our seats, Ma offered flowers on each one's head and did an arati with incense and lamp. See, this is all called Kumari Puja. And many times at festivals in India, We do this at our ashram too. Young pure girls are brought and we do arati and offer them food and flowers as manifestations of the Divine Mother, pure manifestations of this energy of the Divine Mother. In the meantime, Beludi and Tulsi started to service the food at the direction of Ma. At her request, we started eating. After the worship and arati, Ma first pranamed with folded hands and then made obeisance by lying down on the floor with her hands over her head. And suddenly, with tears in her eyes, she exclaimed, "Oh, Devi Kumari, that's maiden goddess. Oh, forgive me. Oh, Divine Mother, forgive me." She started saying this over and over. "Oh, Divine Mother, forgive me. Maiden goddess, forgive me." Saying these words, she began to roll on the floor slowly as if in a trance and wept profusely. It was a strange and awesome sight. Obviously, we could not eat anymore, but sat frozen. We normally kept silence while eating, but listening to Ma, we could not keep silence, but prayed to Ma, "Ma, please be calm, Ma." After a long time, Ma got up slowly and still in a trance, went to her room and lay down in her bed. Dadabai, which is what they call Guru Priya Devi, she was the one who started the school, Ma's main attendant. Dadabai sat in front of Ma's room. The whole day passed like this. In the evening, Ma moved a little and Dadabai put in a word. She asked slowly, "Ma, why do you ask for forgiveness? It is we who commit offenses at every step." Then Ma said very solemnly, "Didi, if those who have come at the call of this body are guilty of any offense, those become the doing of this body only." I'll read that again, that part again. You know, Ma usually referred to herself as this body, Ye Sharir. She rarely said I. Sometimes she did, but usually she said this body says this body. So you understand? Ma made this whole amazing petition to God, to the Divine Mother, "Oh, forgive me," as if she needed forgiveness. So she said, and then Didi asked her, "Ma, why do you ask for forgiveness? It is we who commit offenses at every step." Then Ma said, "Didi, if those who have come at the call of this body, because we are only here because Ma has called us, if those who have come at the call of this body are guilty of any offense, those become the doing of this body only." So we just contemplate that. She takes on our very offenses. So the author continues, "When the occasion demanded, Ma also rebuked us. Once Ma called and chided all of us. A few girls began to weep. Then Ma said very compassionately, "Friends, you have left your hearts and homes and come to this ashram. If this body keeps silent when you are at fault, how will you mend your ways? If any harsh word brings tears to your eyes, how can this body instruct you? I cannot speak to others as I speak to you all. And if I don't say anything, then you will say, Ma didn't care enough to point out our faults." But she was so kind and merciful to point out their shortcomings, to correct them, and she took a great interest in that. The author continues, "In this connection, I remember that in the month of April 1959 in Rishikesh, Reverend Dayamata, she was the head of SRF, Self-Realization Fellowship, Yogananda's organization. Reverend Dayamata, the chief disciple of Swami Yogananda and the head of Yogata Mutt, came to visit Ma. Ma had placed the responsibility of caring for her food on me. One day I served her food. She said she would not be able to eat so many delicious dishes and asked for some to be taken away. I said that I had served them at the direction of Ma. I said that if she did not eat them, Ma might rebuke me and say I did not serve our honored guest properly. At this, Dayamata was surprised and asked, "Does Ma really rebuke you?" I replied, "Of course she does if she finds anything wrong." Then Dayamata said with tearful eyes, "How fortunate and blessed you are. The Guru sheds grace upon the disciple through discipline and makes the disciple fit for the path of austerity. Such an event happened in my life, as described in Sri Chandi, with kindness at heart and sternness on the exterior. O goddess, you are sublime in the three worlds." This is the verse from the Devi Mahatma, who the scripture of the Divine Mother. So let's read what Dayamata said again. She said, "Does Ma really rebuke you?" And I replied, "Of course she does if she finds anything wrong." Then Dayamata said with tearful eyes, "How fortunate and blessed you are. The Guru sheds grace upon the disciple through discipline and makes the disciple fit for the path of austerity. Such an event happened in my life, as described in the Sri Chandi, with kindness at heart and sternness on the exterior. O goddess, you are sublime in the three worlds. Beautiful. You see the image of Mother Durga. She has a spear in her head, and she's got it through the heart of the demon who's at her feet, who represents the ego, who represents the ignorance in all of us. But you see, she's smiling. She's a very sweet face, and she's smiling, but she's like piercing his heart with a spear. So that's beautiful. Sternness on the exterior, but kindness of heart. The author continues. Sometime later, Srimati Raja Kaithan came to the Kanyapi. Seeing my ill health, she suggested to Ma that I come with her by flight to Calcutta for treatment. I had to be ready quickly, since heavy baggage was not allowed in the plane. Ma managed to find one small suitcase, and she herself decided what I should take. It was Ma herself who packed my bag for me. Next early morning, I went to Ma's room to make obeisance to her. It was a winter morning, so quite dark, but I found that Ma was expecting me and sitting on her bed with the mosquito net raised. As soon as I bowed, she smiled sweetly and passed her hand over my head and back, then handed me her own shawl, telling me to keep warm on the plane. I set out in a hurry, but saw that Ma kept gazing lovingly at me as long as I could see her. Later, I came to know from friends that shortly after I set out, Ma went up to the roof of the ashram and stood there staring at the sky. A little later, when a plane was passing overhead, she asked Shaktida, "Is Vishuddha in this plane?" After Shaktida confirmed, Ma stared at the plane as long as it was visible. Blessed is Ma's affection, Jai Ma. Isn't that beautiful? I want to read one more excerpt here. We see in this Ma's compassion and her compassion through discipline. A real mother takes care of her child and raises that child to be a fit human being. So the guru has to be rough with us sometime, but it's always, the only motivation is always love. And Ma was very strict with those who came to her. She gave us a lot of rules. And those people who just came, for a blessing, she blessed everyone and gave us kind. But if people came and offered their life to Ma, she was very strict. She had observances. She demanded a very high bar of behavior and acceptance of rules and things. This is another thing. This also shows how even the birds were longing, even the animals were longing for Ma's darshan. This is an interesting story. This is from a book called Anandamayi Ma as I Have Known Her by Narayan Chaudhary. The author says, "We were in Nainital in Ma's company. The next day, which was the 8th of June, 1937, in the afternoon, when the sun was still glittering in the treetops, Ma suddenly said, 'Let us all go out and have a stroll along the road on the bank of the lake.' The whole party came out with Ma and proceeded along the tarred road on the bank of the lake. There were lofty trees alongside the road, and at intervals, there were wooden benches for sitting. After going a long distance, Ma said, 'Let us return now.' Ma sat for a while on one of the benches to rest. From Ma's somewhat restless movement and expectant look, it was plain she was looking for something. She kept looking like she was searching for something. Suddenly, Ma stood up, exclaiming, 'Let us go back now.' When we had proceeded a few paces toward our lodgings, a little sparrow, a little bird, a sparrow, fell down at Ma's feet from an adjacent tree and was waving its wings restlessly. Ma asked a Kashmiri boy who was standing by to lift up the sparrow from the ground. The boy lifted up the sparrow and placing it on the palm of a hand, held it close to Ma's eyes. I was standing quite near. As the incident appeared to be somewhat unusual, I was closely observing Ma and the sparrow. I clearly saw that the bird with his tiny eyes was looking at Ma's face. And Ma was looking at it with evident affection. The wings of the sparrow were shaking. Gradually, the motion of the shaking wings slowed down and the bird became still. Its eyes also closed. It was clear that the bird was dead. Ma now ordered the boy to place the bird gently on the ground. The boy obeyed Ma by carefully laying the dead body of the bird on the brink of the lake. The same night after our meal, we were sitting on our blankets spread around Ma's bed on which she sat. We inquired of Ma about the sparrow that died in her presence after it had gazed at Ma and Ma had gazed at it. Ma gave the brief reply, it was longing for darshan. In that short reply, I found the solution of a difficult question of mine. At that time, I had been putting mentally before Ma the question, Ma, self-satisfied as you are, satisfied in the self as you are, there is nothing that you want to know, hear, see, learn, or acquire. Why then, to you, at so great pains, traveling in trains by third class, why do you go about everywhere? This short reply of Ma explained to me that our Anandamayi Ma, calm and contented as she always is, and thereby release hundreds or thousands of her devotees from the cycles of birth and death, wherever they are and whatever their form, man, animal, bird, or tree, who have been longing eagerly for the liberating darshan. Jai Ma. Isn't that beautiful? Wow. I one time saw Ma was herself. Ma one time we were sitting somewhere. She was sitting and an ant was crawling across her clothes like this. I mean, I saw this myself. And she stopped and she picked it up like that. And she did the same thing. She looked at it for a long time. I looked at her, looked at it, and she put it real gently down here. The darshan of Ma gave freedom. It was no doubt the effect of countless lifetimes of good karma, plus the abundance of her grace that let anyone have her darshan. But it's true, to see her was incredible. And there's stories even of her driving somewhere and suddenly stopping and have the person drive back and go off, and there were like 3 trees, and she caressed the trees and she tied cloths around them and she played with them. And as they were driving off, she said they were longing for darshan. As I came by, they called me. So Ma spoke to every soul. So that's the reason. Let's have a couple of readings of Ma's instructions.
Mangalanandaji, before that, I think we skipped singing Om Ma Sharanam.
You're right. Thank you. That's why I have you people, because I can't remember anything.
And then while you're at it, if you're going to do that, the sound.
Let's get the sound, yeah. Okay, so it is true. We usually start with this one kirtan, Om Ma Sharanam. So let's sing that together. We've been thinking about Ma now intellectually with our minds. As we sing, we open our hearts to her. So this simple phrase, Om Ma Sharanam, means I take refuge in Ma. She's my refuge. Om Ma Sharanam, 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 Om Ma Sharanam. Om Ma Sharanam, 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 Om Ma Sharanam. Om Ma Sharanam, 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 Om Ma Sharanam. Anandamayi Ma, 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 Om Sharanam, 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 Sharanam, Om 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 all together one last time. Om Sharanam, Om Sharanam, Om Sharanam, Om So these are a few words collected by Bhaiji, one of the first devotees of Jyotish Chandra Roy.
Yeah.
Was that?
The sound.
Thank you, Renu. A few words collected by Bhaiji, just general instructions by Ma. Ma instructed each person very personally to what they need, but she had many general things that she said that were worthy to be heard so we can direct our own lives. One quick thing first. When asked by Balananda Brahmacharya, Ma, open your treasure chest for us. Ma's reply was, it is ever open for all. Her grace is always with us. We have to just open our hands for it. Ma says, with earnestness, love, and goodwill, Carry out life's everyday duties and try to elevate yourself step by step. In all human activities, let there be a living contact with the divine, and you will not have to leave off anything. Your work then will be done well and will be on the right track to find the master. Just as a mother nourishes her child with all possible care and affection and makes him grow up into a healthy boy and girl and a handsome youth, so we will find the subtle touches of the Divine Mother shaping your inner life and making you reach your full height and stature. Whatever work you have to do it with singleness of purpose and with all the simplicity, contentment, and joy you are capable of. But also, see, this shows, Ma says her treasure chest is open for all. And if we just turn to her like we're doing now, remembering her, reading about her, remembering her words, saying her name, saying her mantra, it's true, as we live our daily life, we'll find that touch of her presence in us, changing things, making life unfold in a very spontaneous way. We'll see it even the smallest things. I can look back on my life on so many things that look like just small coincidences, and I realize this was Ma's grace taking care of me in such small matters. We can think of them as mundane. Nothing is too small for Ma, nothing is too great for Ma. So she continues. Just as there is a definite timetable for work at school, office, or the shop, so should we set apart for divine contemplation a few minutes out of the 24 hours every day, preferably in the morning and evening. One must make a fixed resolve that this little time shall be delivered to God throughout their life. During this period, no worldly activity should be allowed to encroach upon the contemplation of the divine. A fixed time for prayer or meditation should be allotted to all the members of the family, including the servants. If this practice is continued for long, divine contemplation will become a part of your nature. Once the habit is established, the future course of your life will be made quite easy. You will feel the flow of the mysterious divine grace feeding all your thoughts and giving you new strength. You get a pension after years of hard work so that you no longer need to earn your livelihood. In the spiritual realm, the reward for good, sincere, and selfless work is even far greater and can be obtained more easily. It's encouraging to hear. She continues, your earthly pension expires with your life, but the divine pension continues long, long after death. Those who amass money, store it up in a hidden chamber of their house, and add to the store when they can, save from time to time. So also reserve a little corner of your mind and heart for God, and always steal an opportunity to add to your stock in the shape of the invocation of his name or some pious work or divine thought. Isn't that beautiful? And one last thing before we go to Pragya, a very esoteric reading about the mantra. Because Ma always said, she had many different methods of meditation she recommended for people. And she always said, do what your guru told you. So different gurus that had different methods of meditation. But the main thing she recommended to everyone was the mantra, was the divine name. She would always say, find it. If you don't have a mantra from your guru, take any name that you feel comfortable with, that you feel an attraction to, and try to say this name as often as you can. And this sound, this divine sound, is the healing trick that brings people to God. So here's what Ma says. Ma says, what indeed is a mantra? While one is bound by the idea of I and you and identifies oneself with the ego, the mantra represents the supreme being himself in the guise of sound. You think you are wholly bound, but this is only what your mind believes. That is why true knowledge can supervene at the very utterance of a word of power, which is composed merely of a few ordinary letters joined together. How mysterious and intimate is the relation between those words and the immutable Brahman, the supreme God. Take, for example, the Shabda Brahman. Excuse me. Shabda Brahman means God manifesting as sound. Take, for example, the Shabda Brahman. Merely by the Shabda, the sound, one becomes established in the self. Look, the ocean is contained in the drop and the drop in the ocean. What else is the spark, if not a particle of fire, of him who is knowledge supreme? It is this notion of you and I by which your mind has been held captive all along. You should understand that the combination of sounds which has the power to free you from this bondage is the one to be used. Verily, it is through sound that one penetrates into silence, for he is manifest in all forms without exception. That's a very deep and important saying. It is through sound that one penetrates into silence. I one time had a devotee of Ma ask me, a younger lady, who didn't have a lot of experience. She said, I just want to sit in the silence. I feel the mantra is just a crutch. I want to just sit in silence. And I explained to her at great length that that's impossible. The mind will never let you sit in silence. You can sit quietly, you can sit peacefully, you can sit in the moment and be aware, but to sit in silence is impossible as long as we have the mind. The mind's job is to produce thoughts, and it does it very well. It thoughts are going on and on and on. I can tell you from my own direct experience of many years of this practice, the only way to sit in silence is to engage the mind with the mantra. When you immerse the mind in the mantra, especially the way Ma told us to do it with the breath, the mind becomes very busy with that. And if the more you do it, the more concentrated it becomes. And when it becomes the one thought that you have, the mantra shines its light on your own consciousness. And then you have this perfect continuity of just your own unmoving consciousness, which is silence. And the mind will be saying the mantra, and that sound will be there, but it will be shining a light on your own awareness, and you'll experience your own awareness as unbroken continuity in silence. So through sound, you come to silence. So the mantra, far from being a crutch, is the most important tool we have. And all the saints of every tradition have written about the glory of the mantra, and the glory of God's name. And Ma said it over and over and over. So let's continue. So she says, verily, it is through sound that one penetrates into silence, for he is manifest in all forms without exception. She continues, so as long as you are not finally established in this supreme knowledge, you all dwell in the realms of waves and sound. Because when you're in Brahman, when you're in the self, there's no vibration, there's no movement, it's just infinite consciousness. But until that time, we are in a realm where this creation has been projected from sound, from the pranava, from Om. So it's literally a vibration of sound. Everything we see is just a vibration of sound. So we live in these realm of sound and waves. So long as you are not firmly established in that supreme knowledge, you all dwell in the realm of waves and sound. There are sounds that cause the mind to turn outwards and others that draw it within. But the sounds that tend outwards are also connected with those that lead inwards. Therefore, because of their interrelation, there may at some auspicious moment occur that perfect union, which is followed by the great illumination, the revelation of what is. Why should this not be possible, since he is ever self-revealed? Isn't that beautiful? So Ma is saying that if we keep saying the mantra, that time, a perfect time will come where this everything interacts perfectly, and we just enter into the self. And it's through the mantra, it's through the name of God. So let's turn things over now to Pragya. And Pragya has a new book at the printer now, which she's going to tell us how soon it's going to be out, which is going to be a huge contribution to the literature on Anandamayi Ma, because it's, let her explain it. So Pragya, will you take over and give us a reading from your book?
Thank you, Jai Ma. Yes, so in the 80s, about a number of years after Ma had left her body, an archive of all of Ma's tapes and pictures and books was donated to Harvard University in Boston. And at that time, there were also some transcriptions of the tapes that had been done, and I was given copies of those. And so over the last 7 years, I've been editing and working on these satsangs of Ma. So these are conversations of Ma speaking to her devotees over a period of 20 years. And it's just been the most amazing blessing, as you can imagine, to be immersed in Ma's words every day. And so today I'm going to be reading from tape number 23. This conversation between Ma and her devotees happened in Varanasi in May of 1968. Shri Ma, to get to that truth and that longing for him, one should attend satsang. Satsang, bhajans, and the spiritual atmosphere are meant for that purpose alone. Have you seen any mother teaching her child how to walk? What does she do? She makes that child stand in one place and then asks him to walk. When the child starts falling, she runs and grabs him to prevent the fall. We must say that all of these teachings are given only by him. God is our mother. She wants us to walk on our own, and she teaches us how. We are all her children. It is she who is imparting all of this education to us. There is no doubt about it. We try to be true and make efforts towards that. Who shows us the light? She only. There are infinite lights, but all those lights merge into one. There are many ways of taking us towards one goal. There is one in the infinite and infinite in the one, simply because we are all only her children. See the forms? They are her forms. The formlessness is a formless thing. The formlessness in a formless thing is she only. We say anitya, non-eternal, but in this anitya is nitya, the eternal. The world means gati, motion, and jiva, the individual soul, means bondage. The jiva is in bondage and the jagat, the world, is in perpetual motion. But you see, this motion is not in the world, it is within us. Gati is not what you think. It is true that it does not remain in one place. Transition and movement are there. At the same time, there is that eternal, who is imperishable and never ending. There is no question of movement with him. But the longing that you have to reach the eternal through motion is really the longing of God the Mother. Just as the mother wants her baby to walk and reach her, and that longing of hers inspires her child to take its first steps, the longing of Mother God inspires the jiva, the soul who is in bondage and motion, to take steps towards her. Then how can you say that you do not have any longing for her? The truth is that until the supreme destination, in which the question of movement and lack of movement does not arise, and the supreme eternity is touched, and that imperishable is manifested, he does not come to light. Therefore, this pilgrimage, the spiritual pilgrimage that you have started, is due to her inspiration only. Only he or she who is inspired by her starts this journey. It is she who wants it, it is she who gives it, and it is she who comes to us. We are all her children, her eternal children, but we are just infants, innocent kids. The light we have is her light only. That light only appears to be different in different people. This too requires training, and this is the training given by the mother. In case you think of God as Father, it is the training given by the Father. If you have faith in Sri Krishna or Sri Rama, take this training to be given by them. Jai Ma.
Beautiful. Thank you, Pragya. When will the book be published? You know, I know Yogi Impressions.
Oh, I just started laughing when you asked me that before. We just sent back volume 1. It's 910 pages. So we sent back volume 1 today, completely corrected, we think finished. We've already corrected volume 2, so we wait for them to put in our corrections. So in a couple of months, I've been saying that for a while, so you don't have to believe me now.
No, that's
It's
okay.
up to Ma. It's all in Ma's perfect timing.
Yeah, when you it's just a really tedious job to publish a book. But I know Yogi Impressions published my book about Ma, so they're very good and they're very thorough. So it'll be well done job. That's good, and it's being worked on. That's all that matters. Thank you, Pragya.
Thank you, Ma.
But you see how wonderful this is. The Ma says, beneath all this activity, there is still that stillness existing. And we think we see movement, really it's arising from the stillness. And it is the Divine Mother herself, who Ma is the perfect manifestation of, who has been calling us up from when we were minerals, when we were manifesting to the mineral form, to the plant form, to the animal form, from endless lives. It's Ma herself has been calling all creation up through this ladder of spiritual evolution to this fulfillment of finding our true nature. So when we start to invoke the Divine Mother in any form, we of course use Divine Mother as Anandamayi Ma, because it's so true before us. Then when we start invoking the Divine Mother, then we participate in this wonderful evolution, and we speed it up 1,000-fold, because then we're working on it also. So the more we can remember the Divine Mother in any form and invoke her, we speed up the process, which she is instigated in it. She's the one who's doing our sadhana. Mama said, you think you're doing your sadhana? No, the Divine Mother is doing it all. She's doing everything inside of us. So that's another reason we meet for Matri Satsang. We are invoking Ma, because this speeds up our own evolution. So wonderful. So we have a new format now where we're going to go ahead now and have our darshan of Ma through photos while singing of the kirtan. And then we're going to do about 10 minutes of meditation. And then we'll have time, plenty of time, to have our sharing. And people, I like to encourage people to have questions or tell their experiences or anything connected with Ma. So now let's let me turn the sound on. And Ma, these days, since we no longer see her in the body, she gives darshan through her photos, and her photos also so often come alive and speak to us. So let's have darshan of Ma's photo as we sing this simple kirtan, Jayama Jayama, and we say, then one of the names Ma was given at birth was Nirmala Sundari, which means beauty without blemish. So we say Nirmala Sundari Ma Anandamayi Ma. So let me share the screen here. Okay, this should start sometime soon. Jayama, 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 Anandamayi Ma, Jaya Jayama, Anandamayi Ma, Jaya Jayama, Anandamayi Ma, Jaya Jayama, Anandamayi Ma, Jaya Jayama, 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 Jayama. Nirmala Sundari Ma, Anandamayi Ma, 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 Jayama, 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 Anandamayi ma, Jaya Jaya ma. 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 Om ma, 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 Om Anandamayi ma, Jaya Jaya ma. Anandamayi ma, Jaya Jaya ma. So now I'll keep the pictures of Ma going. You can either have your eyes sit on them or just have your eyes closed, and let's sit and do meditation. I'll start us through it. Ma instructed us very definitely how we should proceed. We sit quietly, we have the spine straight and erect, but the body very relaxed. So we let the body become very relaxed and at ease. We feel the whole body relaxed. And then we even relax the mind. Just as we relax the body, we let the mind just unwind like a spring that's been wound too tight. Let it just relax, relax the thinking process. And now we make sure the mind is centered just in this present moment. We rest in the space of right here, right now. Right now only. The eternal present moment. And sitting in this space, we become aware of the breath moving in front of us. We can even lower the eyes down and look into the breath. And we become aware of the movement of the breath and let it just flow naturally without changing it, just observing its natural rhythm, watching the whole inhalation and entire exhalation very gently. And now, keeping the mind in the present moment, we join the mantra with the natural rhythm of the breath, whatever mantra we use. If it's long, we can split it in half. If it's short, we can say it all at once. We mentally, if we're using Om Ma, for example, as we mentally repeat as we inhale, Om Ma, as we exhale, Om Ma, inhale, Om Ma. And we continue this, and if the mind wanders away, we just gently keep bringing it back to this point in the moment with the breath, vibrating the mantra in the breath. Bhavata papnashniyai Ananda Ghanamurtaye Jnana Bhakti Pradayanyai Matastubhyam Namo Namah. Shri Shri Anandamayi Mata Ki Jai. So very good. Even though we're in different parts of the world, we're all sitting meditating together. We sang the divine name, remembering Ma. It's a wonderful thing. That's also a glue to glue our community together, is we're remembering Ma together. So at this time now, we have open time. I would like to ask people to participate, to ask any questions, to share any experiences about Ma, but we want to be very clear. We want to specifically keep to the point of we're here to study Anandamayi Ma, her life, what she means to us, what she is in our life. So let's kind of keep it on topic, okay? We're talking about Ma here. But please, Renu, how should we do? Should we do the hand thing?
There seems to be a lot of people, about 35, so I don't see a ton of hands or people questions yet. People having questions.
How do you do that hand thing? That you put your hand
So
up?
it's under reactions. There is that little bar that says raise hand.
Yeah.
Questions, something you'd like to say. Oh, great. First
Okay.
one up.
Okay, but do you say that again? Where do you put the raised hand? Where is
Under reaction.
reactions? Okay, see, there's a bar at the bottom of the screen. The third from the right is reactions. And you can push, kind of raise your hand, and then Rainy will call on you. Okay, if you have anything you want to talk about Ma, we're happy to talk about. Yeah, Greg had a question or something to share?
The other thing is, go ahead, Greg, but one thing is if you guys don't know how to do that, you can always just chat me too, and I can call on you then that way too.
Or just unmute and speak up. Let's continue. Yeah, Greg.
I lost the mute button when I hit the reaction button. Sorry. Thank you. Thank you. Hi. Appreciate. You know, I asked the same question a few months ago, and I guess I'm going to ask the same one. I know Ma said during the time of World War II, what makes you think the world isn't perfect as it is? Words to that effect. I guess I'm going to ask the same question again with regards to war and all sorts of things going on around the world, and things countries do, and things people do personally to each other. And I mean, if God had a dream, there's a lot of kinds of dreams to have, and I just wonder why it's this one. Did she have things to say about such things, or?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, if you look at the world today, we're virtually on the brink of a third world war, and this pandemic is going on, and crazy people are doing crazy things, and it does seem to be getting worse. I mean, it's a very valid question, like what's God up to here? But Ma did give the answer that you referred to, where somebody asked her during World War II, when would the world be perfect? And she said it already is. And I think we talked about before, this world is not meant to be utopia. It's a school for reaping karma, for teaching us the truths of life, and showing us that what actions we do bear consequences. And that's something that most people in the world are just not getting. They're just not understanding. We have to take responsibility for our actions. And one great saint said, everything that happens in this world is just to show us that we will not get any satisfaction from this world. In a sense that everything that happens is passing. Everything that happens mostly brings us suffering and sorrow. Ma said many times, there is no happiness in this world as such. Only when we turn our face to God, when we start walking on that path, immediately we feel peace, we feel happiness. And that we don't have to reach the end to get happy. When we turn our face to God and start living a life that is dedicated to God and that is seeking God, then happiness comes. And it's not being selfish or ignoring the world to do this. When we have a spiritual practice, Ma said many times, the fragrance of your individual practice wafts out to the whole world. So when we are engaged in our morning and evening practice, as Ma was telling us in the reading, we are helping the whole world. Going out and protesting and having signs and doing all this, it can have a small effect, but the people who are doing spiritual life are helping the world more than all these activists are doing. So if we really have a steady practice and we're trying to say our mantra, we're trying to remember Ma, we're trying to do our meditation, and we're trying to see everyone as a manifestation of Ma, which means that we, at least in our lives, will make an attempt to be kind to people, to be understanding to people, to listen to people's needs, to do these things that are so often neglected and often neglected in ashrams. I've lived in ashrams my whole life. Some of the nastiest things I've seen have been in ashrams as far as people's behavior is. So if we're doing this, we're making the world a better place a little bit at a time. And, we can't stop Putin, ourselves right now. We can't stop a war ourselves, but we can contribute to the general welfare and the raise of consciousness in the human evolution. And we read on the news all the bad stuff, but there are a lot of good things too. People are waking up. There is an awakening happening. There is a next step to the next plateau in human evolution happening right now, and we are a part of it. And Ma is a huge part of it. Okay, let me tell you something. In our ashram in Indore is a big city in Madhya Pradesh, and I lived south of there. We had two ashrams, one in Indore, one in Omkareshwar. The head of that ashram is Swami Kedarnath, who is a wonderful disciple of Ma, and he's very detached. He's a sannyasi. He's very detached. But there came a time a few years ago, it was about 2011, and he suddenly said, we have to have a Kali temple. And he called us down from the ashram and gave us sledgehammers. And right then he had us break this one wall down here. We started on it right then. He was just adamant, has to be. And when the work went on, finally we called out workmen. We had a beautiful image of Kali, which he had in his own shrine. And it was finally installed with the Pranapatishta, the whole thing. And now there was a beautiful image of Kali, a temple of Kali, the Divine Mother manifesting as pure power. And afterwards, when the whole installation was over, I asked him, I said, Baba, you're usually not so concerned about these external things. Why are we so adamant about having a Kali temple? And he got very serious and he said, people have been talking about 2012, the end of the Mayan calendar and all this stuff. He said, the world's not going to end. But he said, I see that some very, very hard times are coming. Some very difficult times are coming. And the very foundation of society has to be torn up and ripped up so something new can be built. And he said, it was shown to me that Mother Kali's energy is what will cause it and support it and also bring back the stability that's needed. So he said, now that she's in our temple being worshiped, that power is going out to the world to help. So at least we've added our little part here. So this transformation that's happening in human beings, things have to be torn apart. So that's one answer, that things are just being unsettled and torn down from the very roots. The roots are being pulled up, and it's painful. It's hard. Like when you want to build a new building, you have to demolish the old one and haul off all the old concrete and bricks and things and dig a new foundation. I think that's what's happening now. And it's not pleasant. It's not easy. But Ma is in charge of things ultimately. We have to keep reminding ourselves that she is in charge of things ultimately, and it will come out in the end right. It's just difficult. And the more stability we have in our practice, the more we can contribute to the stability of the world. It sounds unlikely, but it's really true. Every little person counts. Does that help at all, Gray?
It does. Thank you. Thank you.
These are weird times. I mean, it's like everything's falling apart at once, and it's awful. But we just hang in there, do what we can. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, somebody else had a hand up, I see. Yes, bye. Bolier.
Yeah. Hi, Jaima.
Jaima. You have some good stories you want to share with us? We're waiting.
Yeah. So short introduction is that I'm Devashish from Chicago. Sorry I got a little late in joining. But I just wanted to add one thing to this, what Acharji just said. And so, and this is more from a spiritual viewpoint to basically reinforce whatever was said just now. One of the things in the Gita or in the I mean, one of the aspects of the divine that we always talk about is the destroyer. So we keep on the God, who's the creator, the preserver, and the destroyer, and the destroyer being Shiva. So this is something that's pretty much all three are seen together. There are these three aspects, and they're going on continuously. And one, you must also remember that Shiva is also another word for whatever is auspicious, whatever is really, even though that is the destroyer aspect, it is also always, that is something that is completely auspicious. So one of the things that we say is that in the, I think it's a Chandi, that there's, that here is where the individual night, or this, and the night of Brahma and the Kalpa night, which means that the individual night being the man, our human nights, where we go to sleep or we disappear, and as well as that of the Yuga, as for the era, as well as for the complete universe, there is always this destruction, or that's unavoidably going on. We just don't see it because it's sometimes at a very slow rate, and sometimes we come across these moments, such as we are passing through now. So I think what we need to do is that as we get perturbed, we also have to figure out that, understand that this is also what God wants. And in the Gita also, he says that there's I am the Mahakal, the time which destroys everything. If we look at what's said in the Vishwarup Darshana, Arjuna gets that vision where everything is going towards death. He says everything is going into the face and the mouth of the the Vishwarup, the God in his cosmic appearance, and everything is dying as well as being born again. I guess that's what we need to figure out, that there's, if we need to do anything, I guess if we need to get anywhere in our sadhana, we have to be we have to have complete faith in God. And complete faith in God also means that we can't get perturbed, but neither by our individual travails or by whatever is going to happen is happening in the collective manner. So that's the only sense I make personally. Sorry, I rambled a lot, but
No, thank you, buddy. That's a good observation. It's really true that creation, destruction, creation, preservation, and destruction is all going along simultaneously. We have to just go along with it. Yeah. But again, we each do our own part, and whatever we can. We can at least be kind to our neighbor. We can do our practice. And we sit here in our cozy homes, wherever we are in the West. It's much easier to philosophize about it if you're in Ukraine, and at any minute, a Russian missile could go into your house, and you don't have electricity, and your parents are probably killed. It's harder when you're in the midst of it, but it's no less true that Ma is doing everything. I remember times in India when I was so sick. I remember when I had malaria, I felt Ma was just like sitting in my heart asking me, how much can I turn the dial up? How much can I give you right now? How much can I make you suffer to burn off these impurities? Because I love you and I want to give you freedom. So she was saying, how much? I said, okay, go for it. I didn't think I'd survive. So, Ma, out of love, gives us suffering, gives the world suffering. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But also the other thing, we also, as we suffer, I think, and we suffer for humanity also, I think we need to keep in mind that this kind of suffering is going on all the time, and even in the large sense. But for example, now we talk of what's going on in Ukraine and all that, but think about it, what's going on in Africa, in Sudan, and somewhere or the some place or the other. I mean, as far as I know about my this 60 odd years that I've lived, I don't know whether I've ever found a time, when I think of it, when the world, some part of this world hasn't gone through this horrible situation.
Okay, think of the reading we had earlier, that I think was in Pragya's reading from the Satsang. Ma said, the world is jagat, it's always in motion. The soul is jiva, always bound, not always bound, but bound at the moment. This is just the truth. of it all. And we try by our spiritual practice then, surrender to Ma, she brings us out of it. She brings us into freedom. So this is the nature of the world. And it's to show us that we can't find happiness in this world. We can find happiness if we have a spiritual life. We're leading a basic life. We will feel happy. We'll feel content. We will feel the peace of God as we move along. But if we're searching externally for happiness, like through wealth, through position, through name and fame, all that, it always lets us down. Yeah. Okay, well, let's move on. Let's think more about Ma. Thank you for these contributions and questions. But anything else? Anybody else have anything to share? Anything to ask? This is what we're here for, to talk about.
Hitesh has his hand up.
Okay.
I just wanted to ask, do you recommend any ashram in India which has Ma's presence to visit?
There were 24 ashrams of Ma during her day. Now most of them are ghost towns. We know, okay, of course, my first recommendation is our ashram, and I'm connected with Ma Sharanam in Madhya Pradesh. Renu's been there. Who else has been here? There are several people have been there. Wonderful active ashram with a school and a gurukul. The ashram in Bhimpura, Gujarat, on the Narmada River, is also a very wonderful active ashram. They've kept it up even as far as the buildings go. They've built new buildings. They have regular programs. It's a very wonderful ashram in Bhimpura. It's on the Narmada River in Gujarat. The ashram in Almora, way up in the eastern range of the Himalayas, way up high in the Himalayan foothills, Almora is also very active, very beautiful. Bayaji Samadhi is there where he left his body. My favorite place, because of my own personal bias, is the ashram in Vrindavan, which is my home base. It's where I first met Ma. Renu's smiling, she's been there with me too. I first met Ma, and that's where I received my Diksha. And it's a little bit run down these days. It used to be a beautiful garden, but it's still very nice. There's a I don't know how many people living there. It's run by Shamal Brahmachari, a wonderful Bengali Brahmachari who's with Ma, who's a very dear heart friend of mine. Also an incredible atmosphere. Gloria had to leave, but when Gloria and I were there a few years ago, Gloria for the first time was there, and she was walking around and she said, this is like vintage wine. Ma's presence is so deep here, because Ma, I think it was established in the 1930s, and Ma many, many times, she'd always be there for Holi and for Krishna Janmashtami and all the Vaishnava feasts. She'd always be in Vrindavan. So her presence is very strong there, very wonderful. All of Ma's ashram, what's wonderful is in all of Ma's ashrams, the rooms where she stayed are now a shrine, and you can sit and meditate. We would always be at the Samyan Sapta, and we'd drive from Madhya Pradesh over to Gujarat to be for the Samyan Sapta. And I would every morning try to meditate in Ma's room, and I sit next to her bed, and I could literally feel her footprints coming up from the stone floor. And I would look at stand on the balcony and realize Ma stood here and put her hands on this balcony and watched the sunrise here. So that you can meditate in where Ma was, and it's her presence is, wherever she stayed, she left an incredible, tangible presence that you can tune into if you sit quietly and meditate. Her ashram in Delhi is nice also, and her room is there. But for my choice would be Vrindavan, Bhimpura, and Almora. I think are the best. And of course, our Ma Sharanam ashram.
What about in Haridwar?
Oh, of course, what am I thinking? Thank you. What am I thinking? Ma Samadhi is in Kankal. That's really during her lifetime, Ma's main ashram was Varanasi, which is still beautiful, but it's kind of deserted now. You can still feel her presence there. But Ma's divine body is interred in Kankal, in the Kankal ashram, right south of Haridwar. And you can definitely, there's still this, the Ma's brahmacharinis and really old disciples who are still alive, the handful that are still alive, all live there. And you can see they have daily services at the Samadhi. We'll be there in February. And it's wonderful there, of course. Thank you, Rainy. That's why you're my external memory drive. I've lost most of my memory by now.
Thank you.
Yes. And you're planning on coming in February, right?
Yeah, I will be there.
Okay, yeah. Well, I hope we can meet up at Ma Sharanam. Let's try to. I'll be there February, about from the 8th or so to not for long, just till the middle of the month.
Okay. Yeah, I will be there till 20th of February.
Oh, I think I'll probably be gone by then. But anyway, you'll love it. Ma Sharanam is a wonderful place. Yeah. Any other questions? We have a little bit of time left. Anything anyone wants to share about their experiences of Ma, or any questions?
I
There's
wanted
three
to
more people.
add one other thing of the ashram. So as you said, Kankhal is, I would say, is where most of the people who are still alive are live there, especially even particularly like Vishuddhadi, as who
Yeah.
we were mentioning earlier.
Yeah.
And then there is also Varanasi, which I would strongly recommend. That's another place where not only Ma's presence is very strong, but many other ashramites lived there who had seen and lived with Ma in their lives. So
Varanasi?
Varanasi, yes.
Yeah, Varanasi. Yeah. I met when I was there, I've been there several times. One time they actually let me stay in the ashram. And I met an old Bengali Swamiji, who I'm sure has passed away by now, who was just literally a living saint, who was so full of Ma's love. And he kind of took me under his wing. Yeah, it's Varanasi is worth seeing too. Yeah. Okay, any other questions? Anyone raise someone? I see another hand up.
We have Yana and Sarah have something to say, and then Carla.
Okay. Yeah, please.
Hi, I'll try to be fast, but I was part of kind of a Krishna consciousness cult here in Hawaii. And then I guess my question is, what would Ma say about how to place it in my mind? Because as we're doing these practices, I'm thinking about like what I used to do, but how I felt it was sort of manipulated for this one certain guru. And as we're doing this together, I don't get that sense at all. It just feels like it's just about Ma, and it's so beautiful, but I feel this like sadness that is happening over there. And I know it's all perfect in its own way, but I'm having trouble like making peace in my mind with that group.
I totally understand it. That's a very important question. I've also had times, I've lived in ashrams since I was 20 years old. I've also had times where I've been in ashrams that were not properly run, and run in a very invasive and you could say cultish way. And that's the danger of having an institutionalized religion. Is so often there's a fine line between the line you want to keep to have discipline, and when you go over it, it becomes a cult where they try to manipulate your life and things. It's hard. And I know Gaudiya Vaishnava is a very valid path to God. It becomes from Sri Krishna Chaitanya, and I personally don't like their philosophy so much, but it's a very valid path. But there have been misuse of power within things like that. So yeah, I try to speak to my own experience. How do you get over that? Go back to the source. If you in Gaudiya Vaishnava, go back to Krishna, go back to Chaitanya Deva, and try to forget the things, the human intervention which was to screw things up and muddy the waters. With Ma, I found with Ma, see, Ma was never an institution. There was no successor to Ma. There couldn't be. She has the Anandamayi Sangha, which kind of runs on the external level her ashrams, and our ashram is not a part of that even. But she's never been institutionalized. So there's a lot more purity in that. So I think just keep going back to the source. Like with Ma, just keep going back to her words. And like here, we're just trying to just present Ma. There's no idea of anybody being in charge. It's wonderful. Our ashram in Ma Shodanam Ashram, Swami Guru Shodananda is in charge officially. He runs, he makes the decisions, but he always says, Ma is in charge. I have nothing to do with this. And he's really so simple and so guileless that it really is true. He lets Ma take care of it. He doesn't let his own ego step in. When someone's ego steps in to being in charge, it is a problem. If you like, if you'd like to talk to me sometime, just one-on-one, like on WhatsApp or something, we could talk more, because I have a lot of experience in that too, and that does create some wounds in the mind and the heart that are hard to get over. But you have to disassociate the core, the real teaching, the real presence, with what got thrown in by human intervention, with mess things up. But I'd be happy to talk to you more about it sometime.
Okay. Thank you.
I know both
Yeah.
problems. We have some things in the past. We can kind of work through it together if you like. Because it's a very valid thing to. I understand what you're going through, really and truly.
Thank you. Yeah, I will send you an email.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you.
Somebody else?
Thank you.
Carla?
Carlos. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mangalananda. Beautiful, beautiful session today. I've been looking up what you, 1 week you said that Ma didn't talk so much about neti. She talked about iti. And I've been trying to find anything about it, but I can't really find anything. And I asked, I'm studying with Swami Brahmachananda at Shivananda Center, and they emphasize the neti. So I wondered if you could say something about iti, what Ma would say about that.
Yeah, it's interesting. See, in our ashram in India, we were being led at the time by Swami Kedarnath, who is a great scholar as well as a great yogi. And he collected all the sayings of Ma in a series of books he called Vachanamrita. It's like 12 volumes or something. And we studied them minutely, one over and over, so we really could see what Ma's sayings are. So I can't, point you just, to chapter and verse, but time and time again, we found Ma speaking of this, and we found, because we were trying to find out what is the philosophy of Ma. He's written some beautiful books about that, about the philosophy of what Ma is really saying. And this neti is from Vedanta, where you say you disassociate everything. The self is real, everything else is unreal. So you keep saying this is not the self, this is not the self, this is the self. When everything else is gone, you have the self, and it is a valid way. But our Swami Kedarnath said because he was brought up in Vedanta, so to speak. His original guru, who he came to Ma from, was a great Vedantist, and so he had this idea of neti. And he said, what happens is, once you kind of become established in the self, then he says you have to go back and reaffirm everything that you renounced as neti as iti. In other words, you have to then see the world as a manifestation of divinity. And Ma stressed this over and over. She said, what Maya is in our perception. We are misunderstanding what we're seeing before us. We think we're seeing objects. We think even quantum physics says there's no such thing as solid matter. It's all just energy and movement, and we think it's solid. But when we deny something, I wouldn't say deny. When we disengage ourselves from something by saying neti, this is not the self. This is not the self. Ma's way was saying, iti means all this. Neti means not this. Iti means all this. So Ma's way is much more affirmative and much more positive, in that when you come out of meditation, then we try to see everything as a manifestation of Ma. Everything, her light is the building block of what everything is. Atoms and protons are just the external manifestations. Her light is what's making everything we see. And we make this as part of our sadhana. This is the way we were led in our sadhana in the Indore ashram, Omkareshwar ashram, where we were trying at every moment to see everything as Ma. So we see this war in Ukraine as a manifestation of Ma's power for some building reason. We see the light around us as Ma's light. We see the problems you've had. And Ma would so often say, someone will come and say, such and such sorrow has come to me. So Ma would say, the divine has come to you as sorrow. Some good thing would happen. Oh, the divine has come to you as happiness. Everything is a manifestation of God, and everything is his or her manifestation to awaken us. So that's the iti. It's like we just see everything is Ma, everything is Ma, everything is Ma. You can even practice it. It's easier in nature. And when you're taking a nature walk, you can stand in front of a tree and stop calling that a tree. That's not a tree. We've put this word on it, which freezes it into some form that we think it's a tree with a name. But if we just try to let the mind be very still and accept this as a manifestation of the divine, you'll experience it. You start to feel its life. You start to feel its divinity. You can look at a flower and feel the Divine Mother manifesting as that, not blessing it, but actually being that. And Ma stresses many, many times in so many different ways that we have to see God in everything. Like some people say, if you don't see God here, you won't see him there. This idea of suddenly you die and go to some heavenly realm and everything's great. We have to experience God now, here and now, because God is not anywhere else. Ma made she would often make a beautiful place on words. The word dur means far. And also when dur is a prefix to a word, it means bad. So she would say, when you think God is dur, far, then you have dur buddhi, bad mind, an impure mind. So she constantly emphasized, don't think that God is far away. Don't think the divine is anywhere off in some part of the universe, always in the heart. Not only inwardly in the heart, in the depths of our being, but also outwardly within every single thing. Does that kind of explain it a little?
Thank you so much. Well, it feels so true to me. And the neti, I don't know what about it, but it just feels, it doesn't feel as true somehow.
Yeah, I wouldn't say true or false, because neti is a very valid practice of Vedanta. But Ma's way. See, you've been touched by Ma, so you're being drawn by Ma, and this is her way. Her way is kind of a more affirmative way, and I think it's easier and more auspicious and more suited to the times. I think
Feels embracing. The other one feels as though it's pushing away, whereas this iti feels like it's an embrace.
Exactly, very much so, very much so.
Thank you so much. You
Vedanta is
don't
actually,
know how much it means, the way you described it with the tree and everything. It's just so beautiful.
yeah, Vedanta is actually for very, very spiritually evolved people in a very spiritually evolved state where they're living. Vedantists will not live in society. Really, true. You can study that philosophy and feel an affinity for it. But those who are really practicing Vedanta sadhana, they live in seclusion, and they're extremely austere lives. And there's nothing to grasp hold on. You don't have the idea with devotion. You have the bhakti path. You have the presence of God with you. You have this wonderful love to hold on to. But Vedanta, it's like, I won't say it's dry, because it has its own richness, but it's very austere, it's very extreme, and it's not really suited for people who live in the world like we are. The bhakti path is more, and this is very much the bhakti path, and that we see the divine in everything, in every heart. We see Ma sitting in every heart. We see Ma in every animate and inanimate thing. And it's true, it's embracing, it's much better. Ma's definition of renunciation also, she said nothing need to be pushed away. What you do is you hold to God with both hands. You practice in both hands, and then what needs to fall away will fall away by itself. She had a very affirmative way of doing everything.
So beautiful. So beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Of course. Well, let's maybe one more question. Then I think we've been 2 hours, which is kind of we don't want to drag people away their whole day. Any other questions?
Devashish is the only one who has his hand up still.
Yeah, Jaima, I just wanted to, 3 times a day in one session is not my, not what I usually do. I usually keep quiet and even have my camera off. But as I think the last time, Mangalandaji, you asked me to share my personal experiences with Ma. And this is something that actually I can talk a little bit about that. So when I went to Ma's on a personal, like one-on-one level, although I had seen her from the earliest childhood, I think I was about like 21 or 22 when I went to her. I was in 1979, the same year when Swami Nirgunanandaji from Thalchina and Almora Ashram went, same time. Okay. So what Ma told me that time, and I wanted to be a sannyasi actually, or if not, like go and live in her ashram. And she told me that, look, there are 2 paths. One is the path of the munis, which is the path of sannyas, and the other one is the path of the rishis, which basically turns out to be those who are the householders or those who live in the world. And she told me categorically that I should, the second path is for me. And the second path is also, she said, look, here also, she said one day that you have the same results, you can attain the same state even through this path, which is what we say the iti path, but where we are, recognizing the Lord in or His presence in every form and all the time. But it would also require a lot of spiritual practices and discipline, particularly all the things that we do in Sangyam Sabha, Sangyam Sapta. But it was more of a thing that those who have some attachment to the world, they can follow, and slowly through the practice of all the spiritual practices. And she said, Abhyas Yog, then get to that same state which a sannyasi can get to. And both those practices depend on which is what is the inclination or the leaning of that particular person, and also the past samskars. Now, it is not true though that she always uh, recommended iti iti to everyone, or the rishi path. She told that even at the same time, for example, like Bhaiji, um, Bholanath ji, Swami Paramananda, and right down to even Swami Bhaskaranand ji, and all the other people who are in the ashram, they are strictly, the very staunch practices of the neti path. So
That's sannyasi doesn't necessarily mean that iti is associated with householders and neti is with sannyas. Like Swami Kedarnath is a sannyasi, and this is what he advocates. I think it's just a matter of your viewpoint of how you're viewing the world, as far as your dharma and your observance of life, whether you're a grihastha or a sannyasi. That's a choice. But it doesn't necessarily have to be connected. I don't think it is specific for householders, and neti is specifically for sannyasis. Neti is specifically for Vedantists. But there are many sannyasis I know in my years of travel in India who are devotees, who are bhaktas. So I think we say iti is more the bhakti path, and neti is more the Vedanta path. But as far as whether it's grihastha or sannyasi dharma, that's just a matter of, like I say, your personal choice. Yeah, but thank you for that. I see what you mean. Yeah, and I don't think I want to go into it now. It's 3 o'clock anyway. But I've lived both. In one lifetime, there are times when you can, according to how your karma matures, what you need at one time is not what you need at another time. I was a sadhu for 40 years. I was a sannyasi for 10 years. And with my sannyas guru's permission, I stepped down and became a grihastha at the age of 60, after never being married before, being a sadhu since I was 18, actually, because that's what I needed to experience. And that's an unusual case. That's not usually recommended. Usually you go the other direction. But the dharma can change according to your karma, according to what you need to experience at that time. And what I'm experiencing now as a grihastha is something exactly I needed to know, exactly I needed to experience to widen my heart. And it's been very good and very grounding for me. And my sadhana has been unbroken in all these years. But the dharma can change as far as your external manifestation. If that makes any sense. TK? Okay, well, I think we've reached our time. And let me give one last word of Ma for all of us. She says, do not stop until the goal is reached. There should not be any break in your spiritual practice. Discontinuance of practice creates new knots. So that's the final word from Ma. Whatever situation we're in, we continue to try to observe our spiritual practice without break, daily, morning and evening if possible, and try to carry out our mantra. This was Ma's message. Sadhana has to be done. Realization comes from grace. The sadhana has to be done to prepare ourselves for God, to receive that grace. Okay. Oh, a couple of announcements. I've accepted an invitation. I'll be next Saturday. I'm leaving for a week at the Bahamas, Sivananda Yoga retreat in the Bahamas, what we call a good gig. And I'll be doing some kirtans there and some classes. If it's not too late, you can come. But also, I think they're going to put it, I've asked them if they have it online. Last year they had it online. So if you want to look at Sivananda Bahamas, I think they're going to have it online. I'm teaching a 2-day workshop in the divine names. Like it's called Tools for Awakening, the divine names and the divine feminine. We're going to go much more into the things we talked about today, through Ma's prompting, invocation of the Divine Mother in our sadhana in our life, and the importance of the divine names and meditation with mantra and how it's done. So if you look at Sivananda Yoga Bahamas, they may have it online. If not, I'll be having a good time there. And we'll be in India again in February. I'll be taking our dear Shraddha's ashes or bhasma to be immersed in the Ganga, and we'll be at Masharanamasham then. So thank you all very much for coming. It's so wonderful. We have this community, and I think this is really important. Ma stress over and over, keep satsang. If you can find a realized saint and sit at their feet, that's great, but that's so hard to find. But she said, meet with other devotees, like we're doing, meet with devotees, read scriptures, read her words, meditate together. Exactly what we're doing. Ma told us many times how important it is. And I can tell you in my own life, it really is. So we are here for each other, and we support each other. We love each other. We encourage each other. We ask questions of each other. We make friends together. So let's keep this up. And we're here every third Sunday of the month. And thank you, Pragya, for being with us and sharing, and Renu for being our technical host. And if people want to just say goodbye, you can unmute. I'll put it on gallery. It's good to see everybody's face. It really is. It's so wonderful.
Jai Ma, everyone.
Jai Ma, thank you.
Jai Ma, thank you.
Jai Ma,
Jai
everyone.
Ma, Jai Bhagwan.
Thank you all.
Jai Ma, thank you.
Jai Ma,
Thank you.
thank you, Mangalananda.
Jai Ma.
And Renu.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Jai Ma, happy Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
Jai Ma, thank you.
Grateful for all of you.
Jai Ma.
Jai Ma.
Jai Ma.
Jai Ma.
Oh, it's so good to see everyone. It's really nice. Okay, there's Shama. We didn't see her earlier. There she is. Jai Ma, good to see you. Okay. Take care, everybody. See you next month. Goodbye.
Take care.
Jai Ma.